Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hi guys. I think I realized quicker than it's happened in the past. But hello everybody. How are we doing today? Um I am predictably dealing with the fallout of this game. For context, for anybody who doesn't know, I watch the Habs and the Avs a lot, and this game is always difficult for me. Not because I don't know who I'm cheering for, because truly at the end of the day, my philosophy is no matter what happens, I lose. So, that's not quite the issue. Is my camera not focusing, guys? Let's just give her a little bit. Okay. So for me, it always ends up being, guys, this is it. Yes. For me, it always ends up being that like it's not, oh, I can't lose. It's, oh, I can't win. Um, Everybody gets really mean on the internet, which is weird to say for me personally, as someone who generally likes to be a hater on the internet. So it's hypocritical, I guess, but here we are. First of all, I'd like to apologize to everybody for the stream being a little bit later than it usually is. Just had some stuff going on. There's I'll tell you guys later. I will tell you guys later once I yeah. But it's a little bit of a busy time for me, but here we are. The Habs decided, I don't know, man. I didn't think that today's game was like a bad one. Even that's a lie. The first period was rough. It was hard to watch. I had a lot of moments of being like, okay, so this Habs team is back to earth now. Um, I think my volume might be a little bit down, guys. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. Let me know if there's an issue. Um, so yeah, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit. Um, I'll be honest, I like coming in usually with some idea what I'm gonna say or like what I want to talk about. But today, with not having a co-host, it's just me, myself, and I, and you guys. So I really appreciate you guys being here, being active in the chat. I see a lot of people around, a lot of familiar faces. There's Let me just make sure I'm live actually, guys. Okay, I'm live. So, yeah, I see tons of people here. Roger, Bernardo, Chris, King of the North. I say that way because they've been on me about Hamilton. Um, so yeah, thank you everybody for showing up. I'd really appreciate it if you could like the stream before I get started and forget about asking for that. Um, it's my first solo stream of the year, so makes sense that the Habs and Avs would try to start off with a bang. Now, if I'm completely honest, I was expecting today to be a loss. Not necessarily because of how I expected the Avs to play. Um, they are an enigma in terms of you never know what you're gonna get. But as in the Habs, because I don't know, it's second half of a back to back with the altitude factor, them kind of being on a back to back and the Avs already being on such a hot streak. I didn't really expect much. And the first period was kind of proving that theory right, I think. They had what? They had like two shots to the Avs like six at one point. It was rough. It was one of those moments where I was like, guys, don't embarrass me in front of my friends. And by my friends, I mean like the Avs people I know. Um, because I'm always trying to convince them that this team really isn't as bad as it looks. So, um, I don't know. I think my point of view on this game actually turned around, thanks to somebody that I follow on Blue Sky. I'm just gonna find out really quickly, um, their name. Sorry, I want to give credit because this was like honestly something that turned my thinking around about this game. Um, yes, Riley, MTL on Blue Sky said, I know fans around here are asking for Matheson to shoot. Wrong one. Wrong one. Ryan says, okay, I know the Habs only have 6 shots, but holding the Avs to 13 shots so far is a minor miracle, should be more. And I think that's kind of when my idea of the game kind of flipped around a little bit. Because, yeah, I was displeased by what the Habs were doing in terms of what they were creating. But when I think about what they were letting happen the other way, um, I was really proud of them. It's obviously Dobes is one of the big stories. I'm seeing you guys talk about him in the chat, which is so fair. Um, I think we want to talk a little bit about Slaf at some point. I would like to talk about Kaiden Guhle. Actually, I genuinely what what a game! I loved him today. Um, Just scrolling back, reading back, I see John say, I need to apologize to Kay about Jake Evans from earlier in the season. He proved me wrong. Um, no apologies needed. Honestly, I love it when guys I love succeed, even if it means whatever, right? Um, Secret Agent Man does bring up what I accidentally read out loud, which he did say I'm asking for Matheson to hit the net, which yeah, fair. Um, man, I thought King Gooley had a great game. Dobes obviously had a good one. I thought the fourth line, the way it has been, genuinely had a good game. Um, Cole and Nick in particular had a good game. I think it was once the first period was over, I thought they played a lot better. Um, which I wasn't expecting because again, it's a back to back. So with the back to back, you'd expect that the back half of the back to back would be low energy. And obviously the altitude and everything like that just kind of didn't it made me think that if they went down, they would stay down. And they didn't. And so that's I'm really proud of them for that. Um yeah, Ian Boer says here, first period was rough, the recovery was great. Yeah, and I think that says something too about a team that was able to come back from like a rough first period versus a team that's very good and could have very easily run them out of the building, I think. So, just gonna have a quick sip of water. Um, okay, so let's talk about Caden Gooley. You know what? I'm gonna ease myself into this one, into this show by something that I am very comfortable talking about. Man, what a game. Hey, I think he matched up against their first line so well. And it's not an easy assignment. Players a lot more experienced than him have gotten embarrassed against that first line. Um, very really quickly, gonna check on something. Yeah. Um, so I'm just reading the chat. Claire says Gooley had a hell of a game. King of the North says Gooley bad game. Got to take a slapper on the breakaway. Fair. Bernardo says Gooley needs to do a spinorama goal and stare down MacKinnon. I wouldn't know I don't know how I'd feel about that one, but hey, I'd love to watch it, see what happens. It's a science experiment. Um, but yeah, I thought he had a great game. I thought that I know that he was right there with the power play goal that the only goal that they scored. Um, but I think that might have been a little bit on Armia, possibly. Who I also love. I just think it was like I think it's a power play with that kind of talent that they're trying to face. It's rough. It's hard to kind of kill that momentum, especially when it's a team that's feeling hot. Um, so I don't necessarily blame him for that one. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm me. So maybe I'm biased. Let me know what you think. Am I giving him too much credit here? Who do you think kind of lost their assignment there? Um, yeah, but I thought overall it was just a great game. I first noticed that he was up against that I saw he was out there with Madison. Now, first I noticed that Carrier and Hudson were together. Um and that kind of gave me pause because I was like, you guys know I hate seeing now that I've seen him on the left, I hate seeing him on the right now, Goulet. And I was like, okay, is MSL putting them together for whatever reason, you know, and now he's probably playing on the left, blah 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 blah. But then somebody on Twitter pointed out to me that hey, I think that Marty is trying to line match against the MacKinnon line. And I think that was it exactly. I don't think it had anything to do with who he was playing with. I think Marty was trying to put Goalie out there with the MacKinnon, the Rantanen. Uh, it was either Lehkonen at one point or it was Durant at another point. So, and I think he did a great job. There was one play um, along the wall with Rantanen that was holy hell. Like that was a good play where Rantanen's a big, strong guy who does go down easy a little bit sometimes, but he's big, he's strong, and he was fighting. Like that wasn't a lazy play on his part. And Gooley just outmuscled him and got him, got the puck. And that's great, you know. Um and obviously he was frustrating the big guys. I saw him go aggressive, a little bit aggressive on Durant, and yeah, I thought he had a really good game, and I think that like this is just I've seen some vague conversation about, how, and I Mark in the chat, Mark Dumont says that sorry, that he's written a few articles about Carrie and Gooley together as a pairing, and yeah, I think that's helped so much. But I think like this is an example of a guy who can hold his own. Um, he's really in his element, I think, when he's being challenged like that. So, I'm gonna read back the chat a little bit. I do have some opinions on this. So what I'm gonna do, guys, usually what I like to do is I'd like to talk a little bit, a lot bit, um, and then kind of in the end, near the end, we can, take questions and stuff. But because I'm by myself today, I'm gonna read the chat a little bit more and just kind of interact with it a little bit more. But first, before I do, I want to tell you guys a little bit about Inchubichu. We're so excited to tell you about our new sponsor here at Game Over Montreal, a delightfully witchy, gothy, and glam jewelry store, making handcrafted art that varies from subtle silver and gold pieces to glamorous bespoke pieces. Inchu is more than just a company. They've built a community through their advocacy and welcoming attitude that has made them an institution in Montreal. They're located in the historic Chateau Saint Ambroise. I am trying so hard, guys. I'm so sorry. Inchibichi also runs seasonal themed markets called Melfaricum Market, where artisans from all over get together, showcase, and sell their wares. You can learn more about it on inchibichu.com and you can enhance your style. I'm really excited to be able to visit them whenever I'm able to stop by in Montreal. I say stop by like I'd be going somewhere else. No, it would be the main trip. Um, and this is my, hands up. Like honestly, I see Mark is in the chat, so I'm just gonna say I need Mark to hop on a call with me and kind of teach me those pronunciations. I don't want to get these wrong. Um, so just going to read back a little bit. While I do that, guys, could you just do me the favor of please liking the stream? There's so many people here today, which pressure, but also love to see it. So if you could like the stream, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. All that good stuff. I'm just gonna read back a little bit. Going all the way back to the start, Bernardo said Jake Evan only does banger defensive plays, which I wouldn't say that because I think he's constantly doing that, and I don't think all of them can be bangers. But that goal that he didn't score, but he kind of set up, that was a banger play, I think. Um, Andrew talks a little bit about um, how it's fun to watch a hot goalie, and he is so far positionally sound. So hopefully this is a trend and not a flash in the pan. Yeah, let's talk. We can talk a little bit about Dobes. Dobes. Hey, how about that guy? I think he really kept the guys in it when they were not, when they had no business being in it anymore. I'd say like most of the first and a little bit of the second, I'd say. He was great. He made some saves that he um could have very easily let get to his head. And he made some difficult saves, and he made the saves he needed to, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like sometimes that's all you need from a goalie. He kind of held up his end of the bargain, and the Habs held up theirs by playing better. Um, the one thing that like constantly is just I love his attitude. I love his attitude so much. I'm just going to I saw a reaction out there. Do, 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 do. Somebody said, oh, I think it was Mark Demont talked a little bit about how that kind of the his Dobesh's reaction after he saved Duran's shootout attempt and kind of just threw it out there, which is sick. It's always nice to see that. Yeah, you kind of see the like you see the confidence in the goalie. You didn't see I was honestly a little bit I didn't know how he would respond to going down because we haven't seen him give up a goal yet. So we saw that and I was hoping that he'd calm down. I do think there was like a few moments of like around the goal where there was a few moments of ooh, let's hold on here. But he got right back in it, which is sick. You love to see that in a goalie. It's so important. Um let's talk calls. Let's talk the calls, the two interference calls, goalie interference. In my opinion, the first one was weaker. I think it could have like I think a goalie interference is so like we never know what's gonna happen, but I think that could have been one that could have easily um not been called. I think the last one, the one on MacKinnon, did count. He had enough time between contact and going into the goalie. Um, I think like I don't think any of the contact was perhaps like on purpose. I don't think Lucky's like that kind of player, but he could have made better decisions. And ultimately, it's his responsibility to be in control of where he's going. Gravity is a thing, correct? That is true. But I think Gooley kind of had, again, made a great play there defensively, getting back, using his stick. Um, and like he just kind of got turned around and into the goalie he goes. I think he could have made better. He could have done more. Um, let me just Vaguely Sober says refs across the entire league have been hot, creamy dog vomit this year. Yep, I think that's it. I think that's really it. I did see again. I follow a lot of ads fans because I am one, and I saw some. Oh, this is like revenge against Bednar for saying what he did last game. Which, for those who don't know, last game it was versus the Buffalo Sabres, the Avalanche. Um, I'm. You've probably seen the video, but Wedgwood was kind of down and injured, and they didn't blow the puck or blow the whistle, and then Benson was able to get the puck in, and that was a whole thing of like Betchford was down, like he was fully in pain there, and it sucked to like see this. There's this whole conversation about like is a goalie faking, and more is that more of a risk than like okay, sorry, what I mean is the conversation was if the ref calls that there and the goalie is faking, is that worse than a goalie being in net and getting injured worse because they didn't stop the play? And to me, the answer is pretty clear. We talked a little bit about this last last stream with Andrew, where I was on with Andrew. Um, but yeah, so I think I saw some people say that, oh, it's like the refs aren't calling it because of that. Bednar was very outspoken about it, and people are like, "Oh, it's revenge." I don't think that's the case. Because there were, and let me be completely on it. Let me be completely clear that the Habs were incredibly undisciplined. That has been a problem, and it pisses me off so bad. Um, but they were undisciplined. They were making bad decisions. They were clearly behind, and that's how you get your sticks in. You have to like that's how you get behind the play, and that's why you had to take penalties. So it made a lot of like sense to me. I think a lot of the penalties were really real. There were one or two that I was like, okay, that's a little questionable. Um, they got away with a few. That's also true. The Avs also got away with a few. Um, I think out of all the penalties, the most questionable ones I would say that I remember is Holton, goaltender interference, and then the goalie on MacKinnon. What was it? Tripping? I don't know what they called it. Whatever it was fake. Uh, whatever it was fake. And also to defend MacKinnon, I don't think it was a dive. I think the refs just saw what they saw and decided to call it. Um, to kind of go back to our conversation about yeah, vaguely sober here says if a goalie is faking, it should be considered the same as a dive in 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike. Yeah, I think that's kind of the best you can do. I would rather I would rather like we get like a goal or two less, and it's because an goalie is faking it, quote unquote, than a goalie lying there and getting hurt. Um, yeah, Secret Agent Man says holding or interference. Who knows? Truly, who knows? So I'm just gonna read back a little bit. Frederick does ask, idea of discussion for UK. Slaf having a rough game. Doc found his group back. For Pizzetta. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the second line, but I do want to refer to something that Mark Dumont said, who, so I didn't watch Dobes in the NCAA, but Mark kind of tells us a little bit more, which he says, when speaking with him while he was in the NCAA, it was clear Dobes loathed losing. That's a tongue twister. And not in the regular sense for an athlete. That can be dangerous, but he always bounced back from tough games. Yeah. Um, when a team is losing the way that Habs are eventually going to fall back down to, I just don't believe that this is a sustainable thing for them. Um, but you want a goalie who can handle losing to some amount because they will be doing some of that. But it's important to never. My mantra always comes back to I never want to be the Buffalo Sabres. That would be a nightmare for me. That would be ultimate nightmare for me. Um, yeah, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Slav. Now, man, laugh. He was starting to figure it out before the break, eh? He was um he was starting to get it together. I think the entire team was starting to get it together. Him moving up to the first line helped. But he wasn't even we talked about this with Andrew. Now, I think I thought he was a lot worse last game than Andrew did. Um and the big boy fancy numbers kind of back that up. But he's been frustrating to watch, I think is the thing. I think his again, referring back to the last show, Yuri Slavkovsky, please, please keep both your hands on the stick. That would be so appreciated. I hate it when he does that casual one-handed shit. Like it bothers me so bad. But there's just some bad decision making. I think he's feeling the pressure, which he shouldn't. It's only been 2 games of him playing like this. Um, I think I think Marty was right to I don't know. I don't know if he was right to bench him. What do you guys think? I think that like I think Slav had definitely earned an emotion. If anybody could look it up and let me know how much he played in the second, like how many minutes or the third, I'd appreciate that. But I thought that like he maybe because I know that the first line then ended up being Evans, Suzuki, Caulfield, and then the third line, or sorry, the second line was Doc, Newhook, Armia. So I don't even know if he was on the third or the fourth line. Um, which the fourth line, Emil Heineman also. Um, but Slaf is such a hard one to have a conversation about, I think. I think all of us forget that he's really young. He's like he really is just so young right now. The inconsistency is so clear. There's things that I feel are frustrating that are hard to watch. Um, because they can read a little bit as like maybe low effort. Like for example, the hand on the stick bothers me. Um, I don't think it's a lack of effort on Slash's part. I think whatever it is, it's certainly not that. But we expect more from him. And last stream, Bernardo pointed out that his extension is kicking in next year. And kind of, I think we all agreed that that extension isn't necessarily paying for the player that he is right now or the year after, or even the year after. I think they're expecting it to pay off later, which I think is a gamble, and I think it's a gamble I would have taken. So I think that like maybe I just want Line back, guys. I just really want Line back. I really want to see what Slav can do again with that stability. Because right now you have Michael Pizzetta slotted in to the fourth or to the second line, but he's not playing there. We all know he's not playing there. He played something like what? Like I'd be surprised if he played over 7 minutes today, I'd say. That's my best guess. We see like Heineman move up to that second line. We see Armia move up to that second line and not look bad there, by the way. We see Evans on that second line. We're not seeing any sort of consistency, which is strange because Doc is playing a lot better, right? Like I would say he's playing so much better. Um, I I think that like he's finding his groove back. He looks like the physical player that he should be when he's at his best. Um, and he's also just he looks alive, which is nice. We always want to see a guy look alive. Love to see it. Um, so I'm going to read back a little bit more in the chat and um so we're seeing some also Frederick points out the reflection. Yeah, it's a bit of a setup right now, guys. You do not want to see what the rest of my room looks like. So yeah. Um Fred says that it's hard for the mental to be scratched when you play on the first line, not the right thing to do for Slav. And then kind of John Dion says that absolute right to bench him. MSL must have had a private conversation about him, conversation with him about his play. Mark says, all honesty, I get it. Tough to trust Slavkovsky right now, but he's also the youngest player in the lineup. I think it's all of those things. Rusake, I want to say maybe. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Says the Slav's age shouldn't be an excuse. Um, and Mark kind of replies, it's a fact, not an excuse. And I think that's it. I think it's a fact, not an excuse. Um, Hudson is different. It's just different. Um, but you're right in that I don't want him to use it as an excuse. You know what I mean? I I don't ever, and I don't think he does that. I don't think he's looking at himself like, "Oh, guys, like it's no question, like it's oh, I'm gonna be inconsistent. It's just is what it is." I don't think he's saying that, but um I do think that it's a fact to keep in mind. Um to talk about Vaguely Sober points out that oh no, I lost it. It's something about how the numbers just really just looks like it was pretty much all ads. And I don't know. I don't know. As I like to say, sports math is scary and you can't make me do it. No, but like, it's not, I don't know, man. Like, I do think that Dobes stole the show in some moments. I think he kept them in it, especially in the second. But I think the boys by the end of the game really picked up their part of it. Um, but I am simply a pleb who, what do I know? Yeah, this I think the special teams also kind of messes with that. In terms of they played so many minutes down, especially like when they were in the first and they were like 10 minutes in and they'd already had two penalties, I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be that kind of game. Um, and it continued to be that kind of game in terms of the penalties they were taking. But fortunately, it didn't mess them up that much. Um, Sorry, I'm talking so much. I mean, I kind of have to. That's my job, but I'm just gonna talk a little bit. Mhm. You do. My eyes are like unfocused right now, guys. uh, I lost the train of what conversation is happening right now. Um, but I really like all the conversation in the chat, guys. It's really, really, I really appreciate it. Keeping keeping that conversation going is so important. Especially when I'm here right now. Love seeing all you guys in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm seeing some new faces and I'm seeing our old friends here. It's always so much fun. Um, I'm going to I don't know when the conversation about torts started, but Andrew there's a little bit of a conversation about torts and I I also don't want him in our locker room, guys. I just don't um So I'm seeing some conversation here about Bernardo says reassures me slash feeds into my problem of math is for nerds, don't become one. Um I am not good enough with numbers to be a nerd. Just a side note, I am so bad with like numbers that recently like in the last few years I've really gotten into Sudoku. And my best friend, the first time she saw me playing it, she's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, I'm just playing, like, I'm enjoying this. It's more of a pattern recognition for me at this point than like math. It's not math. Um, but she was really shocked about that one. Um, okay, I'm seeing some spirited conversation in the chat, guys. Uh, yeah, I'll let you guys get at that, but yeah, I think we're all trying to have a conversation here. Bernardo asked me, "Kay, are you more of an Avalanche or Habs fan?" I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Usually when it's versus when the two of the teams are playing, I end up cheering very strategically. Um, so this year it was for the Avs where I was like hoping they'd win because they need the points. Um, but the Habs would lose because I mean, I don't want them to lose, but like it's a second half of a back to back. If they're gonna lose any game, it's fine to lose this one. We can be angrier about another situation. Um, okay, no, okay, so yeah, I see a mention of Gary Galley. Guys, what the hell is that man doing? Who's like I I get so mad. I get so mad that one penalty that was Caulfield, I think. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a little bit all over the place today, but I'm trying my best. That one penalty against Caulfield, and like he was looking straight at a replay, and we were all looking at the replay. And it was like, who's to say it's a penalty or not? And I was like, you are not good at your job. Another one that like annoyed me was like he was talking a little bit about Georgiev, Georgiev, Georgiev. That one took me a few seconds to remember how to say his name. I've forgotten. Um, because of the fact that I have not had to think about it for a long time. But Gorgiev was he said, "Oh, Gorgiev is struggling in the he struggled in Winnipeg in for last year's playoffs, which he's talking about the Avs." And I was like, "My dude, he struggled in one game. Like he got run out of the building for that one game. Don't get me wrong, it was a real struggle, but he didn't struggle overall. It was just he's just like he's really just it's not right that the Canadian market is getting that level of analysis. We deserve better. As a nation, we deserve better. Um it's a little bit like we're being treated like we're stupid. Um and shocker, nobody likes that. And it's just I don't know if he legitimately thinks that like we don't know what we're looking at, or if he doesn't know what he's looking at, or he doesn't know anything, in which case do something else. Find another job. You are a hockey man and you will find a job. You'll land on your feet. um Marcus Kelly is a rookie with 27 years experience. Yeah. uh Bigly Sober points out that Georgiev, oh my God. Georgiev didn't play. It was Askarov in that. Yeah. And it worked out. Yeah. Um I don't want to be a bitter Avs fan on this show, but it is some stuff. But I always enjoy shit, we've talked Ian, you really like that commenter also. Ian, can you let me know who it is? Um Begley Silver points out that you can mute and watch the radio feed. Yeah, I am incredibly lazy, but yeah, probably should be what I should do. Um, going to Ian says just to put a bow on the Slaf contract thing. Okay, let's go back to that. I'm seeing more conversation about that. You guys, I am a slave to, so whatever you say, I want to talk about that. Just to put a bow on the Slaf contract thing. Uh, and it is not. We're gonna keep talking about this forever as a fan base. Um, just to put a bow on that, he'll be the fourth highest paid Hab next year. He's got the fifth most points in the team in what we're considering a down year. I think we'll be okay. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I think he'll figure it out. We need him to figure it out. Don't get me wrong, the standard is low right now in terms of like it doesn't take much to be the fifth highest in point on the Habs. We need him to figure it out, and I trust that he will. Um, they point out that somebody pointed out that I think there was a conversation about his contract in terms of just the cap and the cap percentage. And yeah, I think that's also true. In case it doesn't work out, which we are very screwed by the way if it doesn't. Like I don't want to be boomer about like a doomer about it, but we need him to work. But in case it doesn't, in case we need more, the cap is going up. So it's not a complete albatross of a contract. Um and I to kind of go off on this a little bit, I think contracts are going to we're going to have to really change how we evaluate contracts, guys. Um, I'm seeing some conversations about what kind of contract is reasonable for a guy like Jake Evans to get. Um, I think his like shooting luck is definitely drying up. We've seen it now. Um, but just like about the contract, and I'm seeing some numbers that I'm looking at, and I'm thinking that today's fourth liner that signed a contract 3 years ago is not going to sign for the same amount. Um, that like that same guy would now with those exact skills, just because of the percentage of the cap. Um, I think we're going to have to just mentally realign that. Yeah, Ian says Frankie Corrado. Yeah, yeah, I really like him. I really like his kind of calls and which is as a guy who hasn't been doing it very long, it's really refreshing. I hope that we get to see more of it. I really love it when I see that he is on our uh on our broadcast. Jesus Christ. Um Everybody's talking about RDS. I really I wish like this is one of those again, I wish many, many times that I was a um that I could speak French for many reasons. But one of them is I wish I could do that so I could like really enjoy just enjoy the experience because I've heard it's magical. Um but I think that's one of those things that I would really like to start doing. It's just I have a really hard time focusing, guys. I do my best. I actually genuinely this job has made me a little bit more about a little better about focusing on things in my general life because I have to like really hunker down. I'm taking notes every single game, every single kind of play that's notable that's happening, so I'm paying full attention. Um and Conrad's in the chat. But I'm paying full attention. I'm looking. I'm also, really processing the game because I'm trying to take notes on it. And it's, made me like better in other parts of my life too. Because again, complete tangent, but everybody kind of like makes fun of the whole, oh, your kids are like your phones with your kids. They're like you can't have an attention span anymore. And I fear that they might be onto something. Uh, Attention spans across the board, I think, are a little low. Mine personally has really gone down. So I think like these little exercises, frankly, of like finding, having to make the time to pay attention, um, really kind of helps with that. But also that having to pay attention all the time also means that I need an English broadcast I can understand. Because even if they're wrong, I kind of can like at least I know what players are on on ice in that moment. Um, TikTok is ruining everyone's brains, Mark says. Yep. Yep. Again, I sound so like old man yells at clouds, but yeah. Um, yeah, man, homerism is a fun thing because I'm like obviously when my team is doing it, I'm like, yeah, it makes so much sense. Guys, talk your shit. It's totally fine. You're allowed to do that. And then when I watch another team's broadcast, I'm like, they how dare they? How dare they? Um, I think there's a balance there. I think when it's a national broadcast specifically, it's a real balance. It's rough out there. Um, so let's talk a little bit more about thank you, Mark. I did see that. And I'm going to go back a little bit more. Uh, Drop any questions you guys have in the chat. I have been trying to keep up as things kind of come in the chat, but I also don't want to completely let a conversation like I don't want to completely abandon a topic as is an issue that I had. Um Again, attention span. So yeah, let me know. Um, or ask any questions. Hudson, how did we feel about Hudson today? I think he had a like a very mid game. Uh, he had some moments. He had some good moments that I felt like he's really helping create. But I think that like ultimately it wasn't his best game. I think that he was just okay. Um, and I think you could tell that it wasn't his usual partner. Now, I do not like the Matheson and Hudson pairing. I just don't. those are not two guys who are suitable with each other, but uh it does have something to do with what you're used to, I guess. Um I'm going to have a quick sip of water so I can think. I never know if you guys can hear me like drinking on stream because it's a little bit noisy to me, but yeah. Um Trinka points out my favorite thing about Hudson is that even when he makes mistakes, he usually just fixes them himself. Yeah, I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he does defensively. I think this is a conversation we've had 20,000 times over. Um, but I think it was an okay game by him. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't want to talk about that, but like it just kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm gonna try to get back in the rhythm of things. Um, hey, I'm a woman on the internet. I should get used to it. Uh, uh, let me read back a little bit. I love you guys all in the chat, by the way. Love you guys so much. Um, how do you feel about Mike Matheson? Now, my one of my favorite, I'm not even gonna say that because I have a long list of favorite podcast hosts, but Ian Boyer on both Blue Sky and on Locked On Canadians always says that Mike Matheson, you can kind of tell what kind of game he's gonna have, considering what kind of first shift he has. Um, and I find that to be true very often. I think he's right. I think today was one of those rare games where he really had a rough one to start with and then he picked himself back up, which I'm really glad about because a guy like that who's like a physical freak, you need him with a game like this. A back to back with the effects of travel and everything else. Um he's one of the most like physical freaks on this team. He is a specimen. Um and for him to be like he's one of the only ones that can physically keep up, so we needed him to keep up mentally. And I think he got it back together. Um, Ian says that was the first time in a while Matheson recovered after a bad start. And yeah, I think when you're a veteran, you really you need to be better at being better when you've been bad. The simplest way I can put that. I think this team is full of babies on the defensive side. So when you have a veteran, you want him to have that stability, which unfortunately Mike Matheson doesn't always, but he is good. He's good. I just to me, frankly, he's Mark says we kind of shit on him a lot, and I think that's fair. I think every fan base kind of chooses a guy and it just goes through, and I think with Montreal, it's a little bit sometimes it can be the French speaking guy. I think there's that. I'm part of the we should be nicer to Mike Matheson club. Um, but I don't I think today was one where I was really glad because we needed him back. We couldn't have had a game where he just didn't where he could we wouldn't have come back, I think is the best way to put it. I think frankly, when he was having a bad game, if Guhle hadn't been playing as well as he did today, no shot. Absolutely no shot. I know, again, as president of Ghoulie Nation, that would be something I would say, but I genuinely feel that way. Um, I try very hard not to let my kind of bias towards him get in the way. So I try to be very honest about it myself. You'll notice that if he's not had a good game, I don't talk about him at all. I generally try not to bring him up instead of just talking. Yeah. Anyways, so I I feel like it was a good game for Gooley to play very well when Matheson wasn't. Also, good night, Mark. Thank you so much for stopping by. Um, I'm going to just talk really quickly a little bit. I'm going to move on to our questions. We're running a little bit later than I always say that, guys. I'm always running later than I mean to. I like talking. I'm a yapper. I think today I'm gonna yap a little bit less because I do have stuff actually going on for me in my life right now. Um, but first, let me tell you a little bit about the Saint Motel. Um, so I brought I'll tell you that next. Let's say Motel, you're looking for a way to make an awesome memory with your friend or memories with your friend. Want to take some promotional pictures of your business? Check out Le Saint Motel in Montreal Southwest. It's an amazing selfie studio located in Montreal's historic Chateau Saint Ambroise. It's right next to Inchu Beach, guys. That's what I'm gonna tell you. They boast about 12 unique decors for you to enjoy and make memories. Hop in their iconic heart-shaped ball pit or transport yourself back to the 67, not the 97, the 67 Expo. They can also come to you with mobile decor setups available for rent for events, including setup and takedown. Head to Le Saint Motel for more.com for more details or check out their amazing decor. They're constantly being updated and kind of cycled in and out. So I kind of just want a little bit, just a side note. I did talk about this a little bit yesterday, but I've been thinking about it a lot. I mentioned, my dad passed away, 2018. I was in my early 20s. Um, One thing I regret so much is that I didn't take more pictures with him. I really wish I had. I think that would have, um, yeah, I think my main point being, guys, take pictures with your people, with the people you love. Make memories. I know that like memories and pictures aren't always hand in hand. Why is my camera not focusing? Oh, that's worse, isn't it, guys? Oh, that's so much worse. Oh, I'm back. Um, so yeah, uh, make memories with your friends and take pictures and remember them, and you won't regret it. We all have a lot of storage options these days. Um, and you can have all the pictures and stuff you want. So yeah, just real quick. Um, okay. Trinka says, so I'm going to tell this story actually because I find it hilarious. And I'm pretty sure I've told it before, but I'll tell you again. Trinka says, Kay has the Jake Evans camera. So, for those who don't know, what's that referring to is I had a friend like maybe 2 birthdays ago get me a Jake Evans cameo for also bye outrage. Yeah. So my friend got me a Jake Evans cameo for my birthday. Now, I'm not sure if everybody knows what a cameo is, but it's you can like celebrities or like, generally like not the most A-list ones or whatever will go on there and they'll like have a setup that you can pay them a certain amount and they'll like send like a message, like they'll record a message for whoever. Um anyway, so my friend got Jake Evans to do one for me for my birthday. And it was a really lovely message. He said really nice things, and like he was like, "Oh, I hear you're a fan of Nick Suzuki. Me too." It's very fun. The only issue, guys, he was using his front camera. It was so smudged. It was so smudged. I was like, "Oh, this is a man. This is a man." Like, I don't. It was. I was like, you know what? It adds to the vibe a little bit. I think he was outside somewhere. I could see like the sky, and I was like, that's sky and vaguely blurry Jake Evans. That's all I need to see. Um, I did see a question a little while ago. Um, it was either from I think it might have been yes, I see it now. Trinka says, random personal question, Kay. You mentioned that English is not your first language, so what's your first language? My first language is Urdu. That is a language that's spoken primarily in Pakistan. It's a little bit like Hindi, but not. It's this wonderful language that's a mix of a bunch of different ones. My I'm very lucky in that my mom made sure that I spoke Urdu even when I came to Canada. Um, And so because of that, I've kept the language, which is really, really great. I'm really, really grateful because a lot of people aren't able to do that by no fault of their own, or parents are working or whatever it is. Um, but what that means is, so guys, let me just personal story and fuck that guy. I'll tell you guys more about my life. So when I was like 9-ish, I came to Canada. So most of my like formative years of like how my mouth formed was in Pakistan. Now I went to like a nice bougie school in Pakistan, so I knew English very well. I had the accent, but I knew it very well. I could write, I could read, all those things. But I obviously like learned Urdu first. Now it's a I don't even know how to like describe the language itself, but um there's definitely things that like kind of just my tongue isn't made to do to pronounce certain Urdu words even and then certain English words. They just both kind of trip me up. And it just kind of the best way I can say is my tongue feels clumsy in my mouth sometimes. And then another thing that happens with English specifically is phrasing, like or like I always metaphors, cliches, sayings, um, that kind of stuff is I just kind of I lose track of it. Um, I just can't. I get them all messed up. Um, Bernardo says Jake Evans does not make banger cameos. That is right. Listen, he can't do everything. He had some. He was not. His shooting luck drained away, guys. Um, gonna read back a little bit. Uh, just make sure to if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. We're almost at an hour. Usually when there's two people, I can go for like an hour and a half, easy. Unfortunately, I've sometimes kept my guests unknowingly a lot longer than they thought they'd be here. Uh, um, Paul Cake, who welcome to the chat. Paul says, I think the Habs are turning a corner, 42 games left. We'll see if they push for a wild card and the playoffs. Go Habs, go. I think they're turning a corner. I think Line being back helps. Hopefully he's back soon. Um he's the flu's gotta be gnarly, eh? Like hockey players don't sit out for like normal cold, so it's gotta be something rough on him. Um I think that like this team is ready to not do not take that out of context. They are not ready to win. They are not ready to compete in like any sort of meaningful way, but they are ready to compete more than they were. Um, I think this is a team that is getting to the point where losing isn't unacceptable, but losing more than you're winning is unacceptable now. And I think that's something Marty says all the time. Um, yeah. Going to see, we're all celebrating that Jack Edwards retired. Yeah, fair one. Um, that was a rough one to watch, especially because like there's homerism, and then there's like, oh, do you like, sir? Do you need like? It seems like you need a refresher. Um, I said that vaguely sober. I don't know if I should say that out loud, but listen, I'm never gonna say no to that. But go for it. Um, Bernardo says the Avalanche have placed Nathan MacKinnon and Favors for not scoring against the Montreal Canadiens per me. Bernardo, listen, he got his assist, he got his point, whatever. Um, I'm sure he's mad about it. Who care? Um, yeah, Savard, we didn't even mention that Savard was out. Savard being out is a hard one. Um, Is Doc the answer at 2C? Gregory asks. I think I think it's too early to tell for sure. Um, and I think the signs of improvement that we are seeing are encouraging. Um, I think I've been guilty of ragging on Doc a little bit more than maybe deserved. No, that's not true. I think I've been very fair with him. I think it's fair that when someone is struggling, you just generally focus on them a little bit more so their flaws stick out. But I think I could be nicer to him, let's put it that way. I think he's finding it. I think he's putting it back together. I think we should know by by the end of the year if Doc is our answer. Because if not, we need to find one. As simple as like it's not. I don't people say that Haig is up there, but I don't know anything about him, frankly. I don't watch the NCAA. I just kind of watch the highlights, as I'm sure a lot of us do. Um, a lot of people pretend to be experts where they aren't. Um, but I don't know what Haig is. Um, so I just and even if he is a 2C, even if Haig is a 2C, Michael Haig, I'm talking about, by the way, guys, anybody who doesn't know, even if Haig is a 2C, he's a few years away, no? Like he's a few years away, maybe like two even, but we need an answer. Um, and I'm more and more confident that Doc can get it together. Um, MFM asks, what is your view of the Christmas trip overall? I think it's hard to say. Like, I think it's hard to say anything other than positive. I think if anyone says positive, they are like they're they're kidding themselves. They're being too dramatic because going into this like road trip of like the California teams, we never do well against them. It is hell. It is always hell. Then like Vegas and everything like that. And we won. And I think we won in a way that was like earned, that was deserved. Um, but I don't I think it's really good. I really like the progress. I really like the vibes, I think. There's some great vibes in that locker room. Um I think they're showing a lot of progress. I really like Carrier. I think the Christmas trip has shown us that. Um yeah, overall I'm really happy with this team. Um I have no idea who Shield is. Um the coward Mark Scheifele lost against the Red Wings tonight. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think that's the Jets on a 3-game losing streak at this point. I am sorry to my co-host in the co-hosts in the Jets stream. I hate to celebrate it, but it's the Jets, baby. Fuck the Jets and fuck Mark Scheifele. Um, Gamer Calgary asked Dan Vlader has been a solid tandem goalie, is allegedly on the trade market. Do you think he could be the stopgap for the Habs to allow Dobes to mature? And Vaguely Silver is kind of saying play Dobby, which, like, yeah, I think I'd rather just play him. Um, Listen, I know it's a little risky because we don't want to rush him, et cetera, et cetera. We don't really trust Primo if they have to bring him back. Whatever it is, I think at this point, the Habs aren't in a position where they have to have a goalie who's like, or like have to have a backup who's amazing as long as he's serviceable. I think right now we found someone serviceable. Um, uh, Gregory says, how good would Mikko look on the Habs? I mean, we'd kill for a player like that, right? Like, uh, Mikko can be frustrating to watch sometimes. Mikko Rantanen, he's he's the kind of guy where sometimes you're like, come on, you look like ass, and then you'll have like 4 points anyways. Um, but of course, that's a guy that we'd love to have. I don't think that the Avs are gonna let him go. Vaguely Sober says he's heard that the Rangers are willing to throw a max contract at Moose if he hits the free agency. Um, I don't want the Rangers to get him because I hate the Rangers. And also, I think the Rangers are a mess, an absolute mess, and I want them to stay a mess. Um, Jake says, I don't think Montreal get a stopgap goalie unless Dobes or Hughes force them to. Goalie number 3 was up for grabs. Dobes slightly outplayed Hughes. Yeah. Um, Good night, Claire. Uh, so yeah, I think he's been better than serviceable so far, as Bernardo says. Um, I think he's been fine. I mean, he's been good. I think I feel fine about relying on that for now. I was so deeply against bringing Dobesh up at the start of the year. Everybody's like, let's play him, let's have him as a backup, and I was like, guys, just let him stay in Laval, let him cook. Um, and I'm not saying that like letting him cook wasn't the good decision or wasn't the right decision. Um, but that is, I'm glad that at this point he's found his game enough to play in the NHL. And not shy against a game that has like Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon and Kale McCarr, and then before that Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett and who's the other guy? Barkov. They have guys. We all have guys, right? Um, so yeah. Gregory says the Rangers are a perfect example of coming out of a rebuild too soon. Yep, I think I talked about this with like I think Andrew and Mark both, and like another guest. I think it was Ty from Game Over Winnipeg. I don't know who it was. Time is fake. Um, I talked a little bit about how like because Jeff Gorton was a kind of higher up in that front office, if we were nervous about that happening because he's in our front office also. I don't think so. I don't think it's an issue. Can't use still exists. um and yeah, Chris Drury has not made things any better ever since he came back. And it's I think we have just a better culture building here. I think we've gotten lucky in that like I think Montreal can be a destination, like New York was for like Panarin and like Fox. I think Montreal can be a destination. The taxes stuff is so overrated, guys. If there's one thing rich people are good at, it's figuring out how to get around. Like they know, they have accountants, they have very good accountants who know what they're doing. So let's just put it that way. And when you win in Montreal, you're a god. Um, for all the guys who like act like I'm sure there's some players who would like to be in a low key market. There's others who would die to be in a position where they're basically gods. And yeah, there's the pressure, but pressure is a privilege, baby. So yeah, I am going to log off. But before I do, I'm just gonna say thank you very much, of course. I I have some stuff going on right now in terms of just trying to very it's hiring season. People are hiring now because of the quarter end, blah 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 blah, all these details. My point being I'm job searching, so because of that I've been really busy with applications and stuff. Um but I I feel so comfortable here, guys, that like I'm nervous, obviously. I get nervous, I'm human. Things still trip me up, of course, but you guys just make me feel so comfortable and so like cherished, and I love you guys. So I am going to head out. I really, really appreciate you guys. Again, be sure to subscribe, like, really appreciate you. If you're watching this on a replay, please comment, or if you're watching the podcast or you're listening to the podcast, please rate send us a good review. And I love you as per usual. Bye, guys.